Well, it's been a second since I made a video. Uh, Lots happening, but I felt like I had to come back and make one. Because, y'all, we need to talk. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. I don't know if you've been on the internet recently, but if you have, which if you're watching this, I know you have, you've seen a term tossed around. That term being defund the police. And you see that, and it looks kind of scary if you don't know what it is. I love this movement so much, the Black Lives Matter movement, everything that's happening surrounding here. There's so many people getting involved and keeping it alive and keeping it going. This time around, Gen Z is really stepping up. They're getting out there, they're organizing, and they're setting things up, and they're protesting. And as an aside, stop making fun of Gen Z. Let them go. And if you're a millennial and they're making fun of you, you sit there, you take it. Because we've had the opportunity for a very long time to run with the ball, and we fumbled it so many times, and they're running with it now. So we need to let them, and you need to let them make fun of you if they make fun of you. What all that was to say, I went on a little tangent there. What all that was to say was that I truly love the Black Lives Matter movement, but sometimes it's bad at advertising. Just throwing that out there. Sometimes it's bad at advertising. And defund the police is not an easy thing to understand. If you look at the term Black Lives Matter, I brought this up in another video. It is 3 words that mean exactly what they mean in and out of context. It's Black Lives Matter. There's nothing here. There's nothing here. This is just the base level. Black Lives Matter, right? That's the movement. And that's powerful. It's simple, easy to understand, and it's easy to be like, okay, if you're saying this, then you're a problem. Problem with the term defund the police, which is also 3 words, defund the police, is that it is not. There's so much here, there's so much here, there's so much in here, and it's so charged as a term. And it's really cool to chant at rallies and protests, but it doesn't do the same real efficient job that the term Black Lives Matter does. At least not to me. If I'm looking at it just through a lens, if I'm your grandma, or if I'm Weird Uncle Joe, or if I'm just a stranger on the street and I don't know, if I'm not in the movement and I see that, that's scary. That's scary to me. If I'm just looking at it through that lens, it's a problem. And I know, I've also mentioned this before, a lot of people, I'm not going to lie, I'm kind of that people, but I'm still going to do it. A lot of people are tired of educating those that don't understand. You know, we've been here, we've been studying for the exam, and you walk in and you expect everybody to pass you their notes and get you past the finish line. People are tired of that, and people shouldn't have to do that. You should kind of just look into this kind of stuff. But on the other hand, every movement needs allies and people to come in. And not everybody is going to be as woke as a typical general member of the movement, basically. Every war has been fought with allies. I'm sure there's going to be somebody that's be like, well, actually, it's not, but that's, the point stands. You can't really win a war without allies. Not a big one anyway. Not one like this. And having allies comes with some territory, and education is one of them. Maybe you don't see it as your job. That's fine. But you're going to lose people. And that's just the truth. And so that's why I want to talk about this, what defund the police means. Because defund the police means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. And I'm going to try and explain it on my interpretation of it on a base level. And this isn't, like I said, I try my best. I've said this in the past. I try my best to only speak for myself, but this is something that I've seen a lot of places. And I feel confident expressing this interpretation of what defund the police means. Because there's another term that you've probably seen thrown out there, defund the police and abolish the police. But just for right now, we're going to take abolish the police. We're going to put it over here, and we're not going to talk about it. We're just going to put this little, we're talking about this. Defund. What does that mean? We're going to ignore abolish for a second. He'll come back for a second in a hypothetical. But for now, we're going to put him over here. I would like to start, as I so often do, with an analogy, right? If you have all of your money, all of it, right? And you take all of your money, you're holding it like the baby, because money rules everything. Capitalism, right? You take all your money, and you go to Lowe's, because Home Depot sucks. Don't go to Home Depot. You go to Lowe's, and you need to purchase tools for fixing and maintaining your home. So you take all your money, you throw it at the cashier at Lowe's. Don't do that. That's rude. And you use all this money to buy nothing but hammers. Nothing but hammers. All right? So you come home, proud of your hammer purchase, and then you need to replace some drywall. Well, shoot. All you have is hammers. So take a hammer to it. Bust a hole in the drywall. Now you got a problem. The pipes in your sink are leaking and you need to fix that. Take a hammer to it. Water sprays everywhere. Your toilet's clogged. My bathroom's back there. That's why I gestured that way. Your toilet's clogged. You know, oops. It doesn't help anything. Maybe you've broken your porcelain and your toilet's still clogged. Maybe, check this out. Maybe you have a lovely picture of your family and you need to hang the picture up. Well, shit. Take a nail, hang your picture up. Beautiful. You got a wall full of pictures. But your sink's still shooting water everywhere. Your dirty shit water all over the ground. Some holes in your wall. But here's the miraculous thing, is that you just remembered, oh man, I do still have some of these old tools that could maybe help me fix these problems, right? And so you go and you look, you find your wrench to tighten the pipes underneath your sink. But the wrench is a little rusty, the end's broken off, it's not really an effective wrench anymore. You go to get your plunger, but the handle's snapped off. Can't use that. That's not a help. You go to find your drywall bucket. I don't know how drywall works, but you go to find your drywall bucket. Oops, it's empty. It's because you didn't spend any of your money trying to solve those problems for those specialized situations. You just spent all your money on hammers. You've probably heard this term before. When all you have are hammers, every problem starts to look a little bit like a nail. You've heard that before. It's the same situation with the police. The police have so much money and other things don't. And that's a problem. So defund the police at its base level is such a simple thing. It's not anything but taking funds and reallocating them to other places that need them. What a concept, huh? That's easy. This is an easy thing to grasp. But reallocate police funds isn't as fun to chant, and so you hear defund the police, and then that's how all this happens. That's how people get spun up. You'll hear a lot of people express the concern. Well, when you don't have as much police presence, who are you going to call when bad things happen? Well, when you invest your money in other community services, the need for more police presence goes down, because you are able to take problems that the police deal with and fix them before they become the police's problem. So that when you have to call the police, they're coming out for an actual police issue they can help and solve, right? Investing in mental health services, education and after school programs, substance abuse programs, helping the homeless, things like that. When you take your money and you invest it in that stuff, you're cutting the problem off before it becomes a problem. And that's just the truth. That's just how it works. If you're assisting troubled youth, or you're assisting somebody with a mental health issue, they're less likely, if you're actively assisting and helping these people, they are so much more less likely to be in a situation that is escalated that requires police involvement. Police are being called to respond to such sensitive situations, so many sensitive situations that they are just woefully unequipped to handle, because they are not mental health professionals. They are not they're not educators. They're just not these things. They just aren't. And they're being sent in with weapons and the idea that their judgment is infallible, and being told to police the streets and police these high stress situations. And that's not okay. So if we take some of the money and remove that pressure from the police and put it on the people who actually know what the fuck they're doing, you solve a problem. Defund. Reallocate funds. Put it somewhere that needs it. The next big problem then becomes, we've taken the funds and we've allocated them elsewhere and we've solved those problems, but then the police are still called in to handle very high stress, high pressure situations, and people are still going to die because the structure hasn't changed. You've just given them less money, And so that's where we'll bring him back. He's in his little box. We're just going to abolish the police back here for a second. That's where that comes from, is that the police as an institution is just too far gone to reform. Reform is the idea that you can take a problem and fix it and then everything will be better. But that's not the case. I've said this in videos before, is that the idea of the police is rooted in aggression and escalation and violence and racism. In case you didn't know, the first police that were put into actual power started as slave patrols back in the 1700s. The Carolinas were the first ones, I believe, that developed a slave patrol, things like that, and night watches. And it was designed as a group of people that would go hunting for slaves that had gotten away so that they could bring them back and be punished, because slaves were at the time property. And so these slave owners would send the slave patrols out to go find the slaves and bring them back so they can, do all manner of the horrifying things to them. And then those people got taken and enshrined as police, rooted in racism and terrible things. And so the core of the structure of the police is rotten. And that's where a lot of people are coming up with this abolish the police thing. And you've probably heard the story about Camden, New Jersey, who abolished their police force and restructured it as something else. And a lot of people believe that's what needs to happen. And so there's a lot of things that need to happen before we can get justice within the system. And the police is such a great place to start. So if you take defund the police at its base level and you reallocate those funds, look at us starting. Look at us beginning to solve the problem, right? I don't know if you knew this, but this shocked the hell out of me, is that barbers have to attend barber college for longer than a regular police officer needs to attend training to become a police officer. And that is wild to me. Not that barbers are bad or don't need that training in any way. Being a barber is a fine profession. I don't know how to cut hair. I tried, and I feel like I messed it up. But what I'm saying is that we should probably hold our police to a higher standard than our barbers, people that cut our hair. That's just my opinion, and I'm sure they would probably agree with me that, yeah, maybe the people that are holding guns and going around and deciding whether or not black people live and die should be held to a higher standard. And I think that's okay. I think you can even love the idea of the police and still expect them to be held to a higher standard. Like it's we should always hold people in power to higher standards. That's so important. And the problem has been for so long that there's been this base level of standard for police and people in power. And so even this much more accountability feels like oppression to them. And that's what needs to get fixed, right? So a lot of people are talking about education and using education as a way to kind of weed out the yah bullshit people who just kind of want to join so they can be racist and be dumb, and be those bad apples that you hear so much about. Because 2 years of education and however long you need to train somebody for a police officer is daunting to people because it's work. If I'm a doctor, I am in so many sensitive, high stress, high pressure, very intricate situations constantly. And I need to think about how much school I as a doctor would need to take before they'll even let me consult with a patient. Not even hold a scalpel or anything else. Just talk to somebody and be able to tell them an opinion as an expert. Think about how much school and education a doctor needs to take. And then accidents still happen and people still die. And that weighs on them because they did all this stuff and they became elite and they became top of the top and became doctors, and shit still happens. So even if we're giving the police the benefit of the doubt, which we are not, I want to make that very clear. We are not and we should not. But just follow me for a second. Even if we're giving the police the benefit of the doubt, look at all these people that are still dying. If you look at them as accidents, look at all these people that are still dying because they're being sent out to handle these high pressure, high stress situations, and they don't have the training to think. And a lot of them go out there and they see black and they go, bleh. That's a problem. That's such a huge problem. Right? But bring it back into focus because we're not giving them the benefit of the doubt because they don't have this training, because they allow racially insensitive, just racist people into the force and they allow them to carry on, especially if they have evidence of all this shit that they've been doing, because nobody fucking talks about brutality and problematic behavior within the police ever. You get people who get 8 bullets in their body when they're sleeping in bed. You get people who get their necks knelt on until they die of suffocation for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. That's what happens. And so reallocating those funds and doing our best to solve the problem of these people who wind up in situations that they can't control because they have not been helped That's a huge deal. And that should be goal number one right now. And that's what that means. That's what most people who say defund the police mean. It's just a reallocation of funds. And that's easy. But the hard part is it's taking the system, knocking it over, throwing it into the water like all those racist Confederate statues. I'm sorry. It's funny to me. You love to see it. Knocking the system over and rebuilding it as something that works for the people. Actually, what it is supposed to be. That's the hard part. It's already going to take so much convincing to just get to reallocation of funds. The hard part is going to be rebuilding the system. And that's what we're fighting for. That's why you can't let this go. That's why you have to keep fighting, keep marching, keep posting, keep talking. Don't ever look away again. Never. Keep your eyes open. Always. Keep fighting this. And then maybe one day, we'll have a system that works. But it's very, 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 very clear right now that it doesn't. And so we're starting the bargaining at reallocation of funds. And then from there, we can start to fix the problem. These are just some ideas that I have. You know me. I have those. That's all it is. And I think they're pretty good. I don't know about you. I think they're pretty good.